this is 14 right here.
The church was right in front. This is it? No.
Esta es la casa donde vivía mi abuelo Quito. Wow.
Somos de Nueva York. We found the place. This is it. This is where Mama Leah grew up. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about the church being close to the Rodriguez family. What's up, guys? How you guys doing today? Let me show my face here first. How you guys doing today? You know, today's topic is very interesting and is dear to me. I have family in Puerto Rico from my father's side. My mother was born there. She grew up there. My father is still there today. But there's a lot of things I want to talk about. But one of the main topics that I want to talk about is why is the Congress of the United States, the government of the United States, still have an issue, a personal issue to that matter. Again, I'm not a professional. It's just based on my opinion. And if you want to share your comments below, please subscribe to my channel, click the like button. But again, I want to talk about Puerto Rico because it's dear to me. And I have a lot of friends that are Puerto Ricans, a lot of friends are Dominicans, Cubans, you name it, every country in this planet, for all I know. But because it's dear to me, because I have family in Puerto Rico, this is my thing. What's going on with Congress that Puerto Rico has not become a state yet? I mean, for the last 20 years, Puerto Rico, the people in Puerto Rico have voted unanimously to become the 51st state, to become statehood of the United States, to be the 51st state. And yet it hasn't. Even the presidents have, said that they were signed something that they would make Puerto Rico the 51st state.
I favor statehood for Puerto Rico.
That the people of Puerto Rico should have the right to determine their own political future.
And we also love Puerto Rico.
When the people of Puerto Rico make a clear decision, my administration will stand by you.
And yet the Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico have voted for that. What's going on? To me, there's only one thing really going on, and that is, to me, but I find it so true, the fact that Puerto Ricans are minorities according to Congress, according to the United States, is so sad and so unfair. As far as the people in Puerto Rico, I was born here in the United States, so I consider myself an American. Puerto Rico is like right there near Florida. I don't understand why this is, they haven't put, and then not to mention, I have to add this part. You know that Washington, D.C., the license plates of Washington, D.C. says, I believe it says, no taxation without representation. I'm not kidding you. Let me go to, I'll look it up in YouTube here. Here we go. There it goes. So I was right. Here we go. Taxation without representation. Washington, D.C. wants to become a 51st state. Why isn't Washington, D.C. a 51st state? Why isn't Puerto Rico a 51st state? Oh, my goodness. 47%, I believe, live in Washington, D.C. Okay, and I'm just speaking blacks. And then you have Puerto Rico, 3.2 million of Hispanic, where 94%, I believe, 94% are native Puerto Ricans. And the other issue that I'm hearing, it has something to do with Democratic. You got Washington, D.C., majority of people are Democratic, and then overwhelmingly in Puerto Rico, they are all Democratic. Here's an article that I found about Puerto Rico becoming the 51st state. So now this is an argument, right? This was dated back August 14, 2020. There are three possible status options for Puerto Rico on the U.S. Constitution. I'm not going to go with everything that I'm reading here. I'm just going to go with the basics, right? So Puerto Rico can become a state as 37 other territories have already done. Puerto Rico can become an independent nation as the Philippines already done, which I mentioned earlier. Puerto Rico can become a independent and free from United States is Congress has to do the ultimate decision, because it seems like the people in Puerto Rico are just too laid back. So let's just continue to read down there. Now you look at stats, right? I love stats. So how many votes for independent? Now since 1967, it's been 0.6, 1993 4.4, for some reason 2000, 1998 2.5. During the 2008 depression, the stock went down in 2008. It didn't affect me, thank God. But it was also high, the highest, absolutely the highest at 5.54. And then for some reason, just 5 years later, it goes down to 1.5. So if you guys know about the Jones Act, back over 100 years ago, what this referring to also that I got to add to you is this. Let's say, for example, right, you live in Puerto Rico and you want to get this product, coffee from Colombia or whatever. Do you know that it has to be shipped first to Florida and then put on an American ship and then get sent to Puerto Rico? So what does that mean? That means that the price of coffee, if you sell a price of Colombian coffee in Santo Domingo for $1, then in Puerto Rico it costs $2. So hypothetically speaking, I'm just saying that it doubles because now it can't be shipped. So the ship that is in Colombia being sent to Santo Domingo would like to be sent to Puerto Rico, but it can't because of the Jones Act. So it has to be sent to the island to the United States, in this case Florida, put on another ship, and then shipped from American ship down to Puerto Rico, and that's how they get their coffee or sugar or whatever it is that they need down there in Puerto Rico. Then you have the argument about federal tax, income tax, and property tax, and all that stuff. So here's a map of Puerto Rico, and obviously you can see here it says 59.99% or higher, 60% plus, anything in red. Now, if I look here, you look at Vieques. This is the island of Vieques right here, right above my head. Now, you'll wonder why Vieques are 60% or more don't want to be a part of the United States. And there's only one real reason for that. Vieques used to be, not no more, but it used to be the US military used to test their bombs at that location. The people in Vieques were very angry. They wanted the United States military to get out, but they stood there for years, especially with the missile crisis with Cuba and all that. And a lot of Puerto Ricans were getting cancer and leukemia and all that stuff because of the chemicals of the bombs. So I can tell you, I see why it's in red. Those people that live in Vieques don't like what they did to that island. They don't like it. Those people that are living in the island of Puerto Rico really didn't understand what was really going on here, especially the new generation. I bet you guys don't even know this, but did you know that the reason why Puerto Rico or America allowed Puerto Ricans to become citizen of the United States, but United States got involved in World War I, and it needed soldiers. So who they get? They get the least people that they didn't care about to fight the war and represent the United States. Here comes Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans became U.S. citizens in 1917, and a lot of Puerto Ricans, thousands and thousands and thousands, joined the U.S. military to go to Europe to go fight a world war that has nothing to do with them. Okay, so here's as of November 5th, 2024, the Puerto Rican status as far as voting. Remember, 2020 was 52%. Now, statehood, 58% voted for statehood. And then now this is new thing. It's not even Commonwealth anymore. It's a free association. They look at us, they look at the people of Puerto Rico as third world country, which is sad. Sad that it still applies today. Like, wake up, wake up. Honestly, wake up. I always leave the best for last. 9-minute video. And this is, subscribe to their channel. Again, is the Global Lens ST. Lensed ST. You can see it in the bottom here. Subscribe to their channel and watch this video and enjoy it. I'm going to be pausing it from time to time and give you my opinions.
Now one step closer to allowing Puerto Ricans to decide on becoming a state, becoming independent, or becoming an associated state.
I favor statehood for Puerto Rico.
That the people of Puerto Rico should have the right to determine their own political future.
And we also love Puerto Rico.
When the people of Puerto Rico make a clear decision, my administration will stand by you.
He was the president for 8 years. What happened? What's going on with all these presidents that they are talking about that they're going to make things happen and they never do? Well, that's because Congress, at the end, Congress makes the final decisions. They're not doing anything. They're not doing anything. I don't even know what to say.
Let me introduce you to the United States, which has an additional star on its symbol representing a state, Puerto Rico.
I wish I could click that fast.
This shift would undergo dynamic transformations, ranging from the reconstructed political power and political economy to cultural reformation in Puerto Rico and the mainland. But again, what would statehood entail for Puerto Rico, or for the rest of the United States for that matter? Puerto Rico is an unincorporated territory of the United States with a rich history that began in the early 19th century. In 1898, after the Spanish-American War, Puerto Rico became an American territory. In 1917, Puerto Ricans became citizens of the United States. 1952, Puerto Rico gained Commonwealth status with limited access to social programs. Since then, the island has conducted several referendums regarding statehood, but it remains a territory, which means that its citizens have no voting rights in the presidential elections and minimal voting rights in Congress. Puerto Rico's future has been at the center of heated debate for decades. Should it stay as a territory, pursue independence, or join the United States of America as a state? The current status of Puerto Rico is that of a territory, and its political status grants it some federal privileges, but does not include full state status. It's like many of its residents who serve in the U.S. military, pay federal taxes, but do not pay federal income tax, and cannot easily access many federal social welfare programs. As with all the referendums, more and more Puerto Ricans show interest in being a state, still holding on to the possibility that this will provide stability and more funds. At the same time, statehood would also bring significant changes in the political system on the island, its economy, and people's identification. If Puerto Rico becomes a state, the impacts would be transformative in three main areas: political representation, economic structure, and cultural shifts.
I want to share something very, very important that a lot of Puerto Ricans do not know. Did you know that Puerto Rico, the pharmaceuticals, for example, when they wanted to test out the birth control, they were testing out those birth controls on women in Puerto Rico. a lot of women were given these test birth control pills that would do more harm than good. Also, there was a massacre that happened in Ponce over 100 years ago that they started protesting and they started waving the Puerto Rican flag, and the police or the government of the United States or whoever was there didn't just arrest people, they started shooting, where over 17, 20 people, including young kids, were killed by the police shooting these protesters waving the Puerto Rican flag. Doesn't that sound weird that today that Donald Trump signed this thing where if you burn the American flag, you get arrested for 1 year? Now, they wouldn't imagine if it was 100 years ago, that same president, Donald Trump, would probably tell them, shoot them, because they're burning the American flag. But in Puerto Rico, they were shooting them because they were just waving in Ponce, and they were massacred. And finally, the fact that Puerto Ricans cannot vote for president of the United States, and they're getting federal tax. And this last year alone, 2024, I believe the citizens in Puerto Rico gave over $4 billion in federal taxes to the United States, and they don't have no voting rights. The population is going down rather than up, simply because, like Hurricane Maria, or better cost of living in the States as opposed to Puerto Rico. The doctors, the teachers, a lot of people are leaving to get better lifestyle in the States. It's been like that for 60 years, 70 years. And then you got a lot of people that just lay back and just don't care. So let's keep watching.
Political representation. Statehood would grant Puerto Rico all the rights in the U.S. government, changing the overall balance of power in Congress. The impact of the state would mean 2 new Senate seats for Puerto Rico and at least 5 new seats in the House, not to mention more voting members of Congress in a chamber. Also, Puerto Ricans would be allowed to vote in presidential elections, enabling more than 3 million voices to have a say on whom would be elected among the U.S. presidents. Cultural shifts. The question of statehood also raises concerns about cultural identity. Puerto Rico has a rich cultural heritage with distinct traditions, languages, and identities that residents fiercely protect. Spanish is the dominant language on the island, and many Puerto Ricans worry that statehood could lead to increased pressure to adopt English as the primary language, especially in government and education.
First of all, it's already losing Puerto Rican heritage. It's already losing that. Whether it becomes a state or not, the fact is still losing it. Now, about changing to schools that start speaking English as opposed to Spanish, well, that's going to be a new ball game, a whole new thing. So we have to wait and see what happens to that.
The preservation of Puerto Rican culture is a crucial issue for many residents who fear that statehood might dilute their heritage. However, others argue that becoming a state could strengthen Puerto Rican pride and visibility, bringing the island's unique culture to a larger platform within the United States.
Exactly.
Counter-arguments. Thus, though statehood may hold specific advantages, several issues raise dust. First, there's the question of financial dependency. A consequence of becoming a state would be that Puerto Rico would depend heavily on federal assistance. This dependency on mainland support would continue to grow, reducing self-sufficiency levels. This dependence could further promote economic hostility, making it challenging for Puerto Rico to foster a self-sufficient economy. One of the reasons is that statehood is likely to diminish Puerto Ricans' identity as contesting parties continuing to assert their dominance. Certain voices of society argue that attaining statehood would threaten to erase the Puerto Rican identity in terms of language, traditions, and values. They worry that with increased integration of the island into the system, social pressure for acculturation is likely to increase, and media portrayals to become even more damaging, apart from policy aspects that might not be sympathetic to the local culture. This integration could reduce their ability to handle regional matters independently and reduce the unique identity most Puerto Ricans value. Also, the transition to statehood, about which everyone likes to talk, might be gradual and prolonged. The case showed that optimization of the island's existing legal and regulatory frameworks to meet federal regulatory frameworks may result in difficulties in governance, economic shifts, and social policy adjustments. Some residents want to keep Puerto Rico a territory or even request independence for the same reason.
So here's this woman voting for statehood. She wants statehood. Again, 58% of Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico do want statehood. There's over at least 6 million Puerto Ricans living in the States right now. Even those people, the majority of those people, are voting for statehood.
Why this matters. Puerto Rico's statehood concerns would affect the island, but their effects would extend throughout the country. In the political aspect, Puerto Rican representation may alter the U.S. political balance and dynamics in the U.S. Congress on policymaking and legislation across the United States. Many more Puerto Rican votes in presidential elections could potentially and likely alter the results, such as the close ones, as well as change candidate campaigning plans and voter profiles. Conclusion? It now often appears that Puerto Rico's future is in the balance. Statehood brings political enfranchisement, prosperity, and ethnic boundedness, but the slots questions regarding demarcation, subjugation, and freedom. Does Puerto Rico want to be a state of the United States or a sovereign nation? The answer can reshape both Puerto Rico and the United States. What do you think? If Puerto Rico were to become a state, how would this affect the entire nation?
A lot of things that are just going on with Puerto Rico. The bottom line is this. The people of Puerto Rico are just simply laid back. They are too laid back. They're getting spoiled. They're too used to where they stand as American citizens. And it's finally, people need to start waking up. And sometimes it takes hurricane Maria and the blackouts that happen over there in Puerto Rico and all the just the negative things that are forcing Puerto Ricans to move to the States in Florida and New York and New Jersey, and the majority of them do. Me, myself, born and raised in United States. I was born here in the United States. I was born in New York City. And my sister and my two brothers, may he rest in peace, one of my brothers, he was born over there in 1960. And then my brother Jose was born over there in 1963. Every time I hear the story of how America is not doing anything to help out Puerto Ricans and they voting to be a state and the Congress is not doing anything about it. The Puerto Rican people, as proud as they are, Puerto Ricans need to wake up and understand that we need to get together to the Congress, to the United States government, that it's time that the majority of the people want to vote for statehood. No taxation without representation. Back in 1776, that's what the colonies did with Great Britain, and I feel like that's what Puerto Rico needs to do peacefully towards United States as far as paying federal tax, but yet they don't get to vote or they don't get certain privileges that other states do get in the United States. What's your take on this, guys? Again, subscribe to my channel, click the like button. What's your take on this? What do you think about Puerto Rico becoming a statehood, part of the United States, or basically the same the way they are, or becoming independent? Give your take, make your comments below. Tell me what you think. Again, thank you for watching. This is Sammy, and I love you guys. God bless you guys, and God bless the people in Puerto Rico. Thank you for watching, and God bless. Peace, guys.